For so many of us, our personal reality is really constructed out of nothing but self-doubt and fear, and we truly limit our vision of the future simply because our self-concept is so negative that we fail to see our own strengths and our own value. So today we're going to take a look at these limiting beliefs and really discuss where they come from and how we can learn to push past them so we can start to live the life we were born to lead. Welcome back. I hope you're doing fantastically well. My name's Nina. I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. And here at this channel, we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and living our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. So maybe you've started to notice little digs that you take at yourself, or maybe the self-deprecating or even demeaning comments that you make against yourself automatically when someone is honestly trying to give you an authentic compliment. We belittle and undervalue ourselves to such an extent that it has become really second nature to us. It's very ingrained in us and it becomes part of our daily routine. It's really a habit. So why do we engage in behavior that is so negative towards our own selves? The answer usually is because of a negative limiting belief. Now, these beliefs are not usually based at all in reality. They are in fact just an interpretation that our brain is giving us for an event or an experience or a thought or a comment that someone has given us, and really just putting a very negative spin on it. We call them limiting beliefs because that's what they do. They limit us in some way. They really keep us from living our best life, from living up to our potential, for going for the dreams that we really want, or for achieving the things that we really desire. It's interesting because we can have limiting beliefs about things that are even beyond our own selves. So of course we can have these self-limiting beliefs, which are oftentimes the most damaging, but we can also have limiting beliefs that concern other people. They can concern events or experiences, places even, and even things. There are just so many different types of limiting beliefs, but some you may easily identify with could be that we are not attractive enough, or we're not smart enough, or we feel that we can only earn a certain amount of money, or that other people are better than us, or that we are not worthy of love. But it can come in any form, but it's just something that basically sets a limit on how far we are allowing ourselves to go. Now, it's safe to say that every single person does have some type of limiting belief, and usually they have multiple limiting beliefs, and some you can be easily aware of. It could be something that you've been dealing with a long time, or some of these may be really hidden in the subconscious mind. A great way of really kind of figuring out what our limiting beliefs are is to make out two separate lists. Now, on the first list, you are going to list out all the things that you really dream about, all the things that you would love to be part of your life. Now, on the second list, you are going to write out why you have not achieved these things. Why do you not have these things? What you're going to find is that you have a whole slew of limiting beliefs that are not, again, rational or based in reality. They are just assumptions that you've made about yourself that are very negative in nature, that are telling you that these things are not possible for you. The unfortunate thing is that once we really accept these limiting beliefs, they become part of our reality, and therefore they become our truth. They run through our brain like a soundtrack, telling us over and over that we're not good enough and that we won't be able to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And they really keep us, again, in that set point in life that we've established is where we should be. So we all have this kind of mental construct of where we believe we deserve to be in life, and we really keep repeating these ideas to ourselves over and over and over, and they don't allow us to even really strive for further success. We have to remember, however, that just because we believe believe something to be true, just because something seems true to us, does not actually make it reality. It does not make it a fact. And that's something that we need to remember, not just in our limiting beliefs, but in our beliefs overall. Just because we think something is true does not make it in fact so. So we can believe in unicorns, we can believe that there is a dinosaur in our living room, but again, that does not make it a true reality. So that means it's in fact possible to actually go in and reverse that way of thinking and change it to something that is much more realistic and positive and beneficial for us to do so, so we can start to really believe in our own capabilities and our own talents and strengths. So let's go ahead and take a look at where these different limiting beliefs can actually come from. Now, the first place they can come from is our childhood, from our past experiences. Now, we can have very traumatic experiences that can happen, or we can have experiences that actually are traumatic in some nature, but don't seem so on the surface. So we're not quite as aware of them. We may not even remember them happening, but someone could have said something. There could have been an insult or a comment that really stuck with us enough to make a little wound. And once we have that wound, it can really snowball into a full-blown limiting belief. Believe it or not, as human beings, we oftentimes really look for criticisms. We're always kind of seeking them out and kind of really looking for anything that could be perceived as something bad about our own selves. It's human nature to do that. We have a negativity bias, so we can be given 1,000 compliments and one tiny little criticism, but we're going to focus on that criticism and really ignore all those 1,000 compliments because, again, we have that negativity bias and that information seems much more important to us. The second place it can come from is from an exaggerated perception of the success or ability of another person. So in other words, from comparison. So we have a tendency to believe that other people are somehow more capable or attractive or, more experienced than we are. And we really inflate who they are as people, and that can really tend to diminish our own self-concept and start to create these limiting beliefs about ourselves because we feel that we really pale in comparison. Oftentimes we believe so strongly in the illusion that people are putting forward about themselves, especially in social media, even though deep down we know that it is probably a fabrication of some kind because we do exactly the same things. We only post pictures of ourselves that we feel are flattering, let's say. We only post things about ourselves that really paint us in a good light. So it's understandable that every other person is doing exactly the same thing, yet we fail to realize that, and we really buy into this, again, illusion that other people are creating. And unfortunately, when we really judge these people to be better than we are also judging ourselves. We are judging ourselves to be less than they are. And of course, that can really lead to a lot of self-doubt and limiting beliefs. The third way we can develop these limiting beliefs is through perceived rejection. And it is natural, again, through our human experience that we are going to be rejected at some points in our life. But that does not necessarily mean it has anything to do with us. We can face rejection without it actually being our fault or even really having much to do with us whatsoever. It could come from an experience or a situation that we don't really know anything about. It could have nothing to do with us at all. Or in terms of relationships, it could be entirely because of that other person, or because that inside this particular relationship, we don't match up well. But that does not mean that we are flawed. That does not mean that inherently there is something wrong with us. But we will internalize this and we assume we are flawed, and we really try to brainstorm and think of, what is wrong with us? And we take this perception, we take these beliefs that we create, and we turn it into, again, a limiting belief about ourselves. And the fourth way we can develop limiting beliefs is through self-doubt. Now, we can actually have a very, very healthy self-concept and feel really good about ourselves, but we can have situations that happen that make us question ourselves or really start to poke holes in our self-concept. We can think, what if this happens? What if that is true? And we start to think of these really terrifying stories and considerations about ourselves. And before we know it, we have these stories that we create that are very damaging and frightening in nature. And they can start to create these limiting beliefs that are not at all based in reality. These are just based on catastrophic thinking and worst case scenarios. So that is another way that we can actually start to develop limiting beliefs. So once we really understand these factors and have an awareness of them, we can really stop limiting beliefs from developing, because once we have this conscious awareness that we are developing these thinking patterns, we can really dispute them before they become part of our subconscious mind and appear to be a truth for us. So that's a great way to really prevent limiting beliefs from developing in the first place. But what do we do about the limiting beliefs that we already have? The ones that we can't stop because they have already been developed? Well, we can really dispute them in exactly the same way. And to do that, we first need to have an awareness of those limiting beliefs. And that can come back to, again, a lot of introspection or looking at those lists we talked about at the beginning. All the things that we feel are keeping us from doing the things that we really want to in life. All those terrible statements that we have created about ourselves that are most likely, again, not at all true. So how do we actually dispute these beliefs? We can do this through a process called cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is something that I made a video about that I will absolutely link down below, because this is a life-changing process that can really help us to identify and dispute our automatic thoughts and our irrational beliefs. And we can have lots of irrational beliefs all day long, and it's important that we really learn to dispute them so we don't have things that are connected with limiting beliefs a lot of times, which can be anxiety and depression, and of course that feeling of hopelessness and feeling that we really can't get any further in our life. So this process really just involves, again, identifying the beliefs, really arguing against them, and finding evidence to support the opposite, and then replacing these negative automatic thoughts and irrational beliefs with something that is much more realistic and empowering, and that will enable us to have the confidence to really attempt the things that we want to in our life, because so often we don't even try to do the things that we want to do because of these limiting beliefs. They really keep us locked in a very, very small reality of things that we are not fearful about. We never want to try anything that we feel is really pushing the boundaries. But once we really eliminate these limiting beliefs, the sky is the limit for us. And once we've really untangled these limiting beliefs from our reality, we need to practice a lot of self-love, self-compassion, self-awareness, like we talked about, and mindfulness. So we always have to be mindful of our thinking and always have this idea of questioning the thoughts that come up into our mind all the time, instead of the habit of just believing everything that pops up into our head. A lot of times we can even cause panic for ourselves by things that we just kind of invent that are not, again, based in reality, but these are just thoughts that we jump on the train of, and they lead us to very, very dark places. So if we are mindful, if we are in the now, if we are in the present moment, not worrying about the future, not ruminating over the past, but being in the present moment and having an awareness of what the reality of that moment actually is, and questioning anything that seems to be negative, we're going to have a lot easier of a time maintaining that positivity in our life. Remember always that our reality is 100% based on our perception, which means we can kind of manipulate our reality through our own awareness, through what we choose to believe and how we choose to think about any given situation. We also have to remember that it is never too late to live up to our potential and to live a life that is truly in alignment to our deepest desires and passion. And when we can really learn to let go of these limiting beliefs, we can have a true understanding that we can do, be, and have absolutely anything that we want. So I truly hope this video was helpful to you, and if you liked it, please share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today. Give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already. We definitely want you to stay connected. So I thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I greatly look forward to seeing you next time. Have an absolutely extraordinary day.